You do understand the importance. You can't just sit and be proud of yourselves for your knowledge and your self-awareness. You have to spread the word. Buy one of Greg's books. Give it to someone as a gift. Support independent media and tell your friends that it is crucial to the survival of America. Now we're going to hear from one of the heroes of independent media, Jeff Pearlstein of Media Alliance. Let me tell you just a little bit about him. Jeff is the executive director of Media Alliance. It's a 30-year-old media resource training and advocacy center in San Francisco. Their mission is excellence, ethics, diversity, and accountability in all aspects of the media in the interest of peace, justice, and social responsibility. As executive director, Mr. Pearlstein has initiated campaigns for greater press freedom during wartime. What a concept. Expanded public input into the FCC's rulemaking processes. What a concept. And increased accountability to local communities from corporate-owned radio stations in the Bay Area who, by the way, are using the people's airwaves. Jeff is co-founder of the Media Justice Network as well as the initial Independent Media Center in Seattle and the website indiemedia.org, which now makes hundreds of IMCs in more than 40 countries. I give to you, Jeff Pearlstein.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Pat, very much, and thanks to Greg and the crew for inviting me to be here tonight and speak a little bit about the work that we're doing at Media Alliance. And I actually just want to get maybe a show of hands, or put your hands together if you've actually heard of Media Alliance before tonight. Great, well, I'm going to be brief because I'm actually not silver-tongued and super sharp with my intellect like some of the other folks on the bill. But I do want to give you a little bit of a sense of what we're working on and how it relates to what you've seen tonight and what this is about. Clearly, folks here in this audience get that there's a deep crisis in our media system. And that's not just about some intellectual exercise or for academics who study journalism. This cuts to the very core and affects all of us, whether you're in New Orleans, whether you're in East Oakland, whether you're in San Francisco, whether you're in Minot, North Dakota. The fact that news and information that we need to make good decisions and hear about what's happening, not just in Washington, D.C., not just in our state houses, but it's happening across town, it's happening down the block, sometimes happening behind closed doors. This is crucial information that we need to have a safe, healthy, and just democracy. So that's where Media Alliance's work came from 31 years ago, was actually investigative journalists who were coming out of the civic journalism movement of the 60s and 70s, who really were concerned about what was happening at that point in time, 31 years ago, what they were seeing as a crisis in the media, as far as too much corporate ownership, the downsizing of newsrooms, and the attacking of journalists. So that's where the work founded over the years has expanded to include lots of community-based organizations. It has really taken on a number of campaigns, whether that's producing a publication called Propaganda Review for over 10 years, whether that was working with community members to spearhead a coalition to basically fight off corporate raiders from taking over KPFA a couple of years ago. Actually, were any of you involved in those marches, rallies, emails to reclaim KPFA? I had a hunch you might have been. Media Alliance is also involved, as you may know, in fighting off the Republican majority on the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, under George Bush. So in 2003, the Bush administration and the majority on the FCC were seeking to give more control of the public airwaves that we all own and trust, to the 5 corporations that already control 85% of what the American people see and hear. And we were able to sound the alarm, actually sparking what ended up being a nationwide brush fire that turned that ruling back. With a hearing that some of you may have been at or heard live broadcast on KPFA, it was at City Hall in San Francisco, and it went on for 9 hours. Over 800 people came to testify and tell their stories about why the problem with the media impacts them in their daily lives. So the good news is that set off this prairie fire, really unprecedented, generated more than 3 million comments to the FCC from people saying why this was a bad idea. And just as a side note, you should know that never before had the FCC gotten more than 30,000 comments on any ruling. So this was really a watershed moment. And it was really sparked by organizing that went on here in the Bay Area, linking with folks around the country. So while that was really encouraging, there's been a real growth of the media reform movement in the media justice sector over the last couple of years. Unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that the Bush administration is still in power. They still have a 3-2 majority in the FCC, and they're pushing those very same rules back again this year. So last fall, you may have heard, we actually convened 3 public hearings, 2 in LA and 1 in Oakland, and turned out over 1,500 people to testify to the FCC commissioners, to Congress members and the like. Really, again, sparking a wave that's continued. There have been now 7 more hearings in the last 6 months since we did that in California. But that ruling is coming up for a vote later this summer. And so we really need to keep the pressure on. That's why we want to ask all of you to really stay involved in this issue, to leave tonight feeling energized to take action, not just knowing what the problem is, but having some opportunities to make some change. That's really what our focus is, working with partners at a variety of organizations, whether that's Code Pink, whether that's the Youth Media Council, whether that's the National Writers Union and Society of Professional Journalists, the Ella Baker Center, many others. So we're asking you to stand with us and stand with all these folks, not just to identify the problem with the media, but to make change and transform it. So I want to hear if you can help us with that. Can you help us with that? I just want to mention one more piece that we're looking at right now and paying a lot of attention to, because while it's really crucial that we understand the problems with mainstream media, while we do our best to kind of hold back and fight that toxic environment and kind of hold the dam there, we also need to grow the organic garden that we want to see, the media that we want, the other media that is possible and that we see sprouting up all around us, whether that's with investigative journalists like Greg Palast, whether that's with the San Francisco Bayview paper, Hard Knock Radio, Poor Magazine, the National Radio Project. What are some others? The Quake, Colorlines Magazine, many, many more. So this robust and growing sector of independent media that we need to nurture and support. And we need to create some space, especially in the online environment, for folks to be able to access that information and be able to produce their own media. So I want to tell you about this exciting piece. So building alternatives, not just fighting back against what's bad, is what we're talking about here. Supporting investigative journalists, community media, independent media, and also creating new space in the emerging online environment. So you may know about some of the threats to internet privacy. You may know about what's called net neutrality. Has anybody heard about this fight that's going on? So in short, this is, again, a handful of massive corporations that are controlling the pipes through which people are getting access to the internet, want to monetize that. They want to charge people for what historically has been the way that the internet has grown to become this very open, fertile space for communication. They want to make it a tollway, not an information highway, not a freeway. They want to make it a tollway and charge people to go to different websites. If you're a small organization, they're going to charge you to be able to have people access your content. And of course, this favors big corporations, and we all know how that can alter the landscape as it has in radio and TV. We don't want that to happen on the internet. So we're fighting for net neutrality protections, which are internet freedom protections, which is one crucial space. We have some opportunities this year with the Democrats in control in Congress, so we want you to help us push that. And also here locally in the Bay Area, because we all want to, as we think globally, we want to continue to act locally. Here in the Bay Area, there's a really exciting initiative, both in San Francisco, now in Oakland and Marin. Los Angeles is jumping off, and Sacramento, is what's called municipal or citywide broadband and internet. This is really seizing the new technologies and saying, we're not going to continue to allow the duopoly to continue that has a stranglehold on the internet, which at this point is really big phone or big cable in pretty much any city or town around the country. So you're pretty much at this point reliant on either big phone, which in this case is AT&T in the Bay Area, or big cable, which is Comcast. You're reliant on them and their policies and their pricing and their awful customer service, as far as the very limited bandwidth, which is hardly high speed, for what you can have access to. Well, people in over 300 cities and towns across the country have now come together in their places, pushing their city councils to create a third rail, if you will, an alternative that basically takes a new technology and says, we're going to go as if this was a utility, because it really is for the 21st century, and we're going to ask our cities and towns to enact a new framework called municipal wireless, municipal broadband. Depends on where you are and depends on how your city's taking it up. But we've been able to push in San Francisco an initiative to get a much more community-driven, independent way that's hopefully going to drive down prices, create better privacy and security, and really have universal access to create true access and affordable access for communities that have been redlined and underserved by these big duopolies. So for example, in the Bayview Hunters Point, even if you had the money to pay these crazy rates that SBC and Comcast are charging, they actually haven't even provided or run the cables to some of these communities because they don't see them as valuable. They don't see them as important enough to be part of our public conversation. They're redlining these communities just like banks have redlined these communities for years. So we're opposed to that. We hope that you'll stand with us and support municipal initiatives that create opportunities for all of the communities in the Bay Area to be able to access high-speed, high-quality internet and go to the websites and independent media that they want to see. What's that? AT&T. Yeah, I think I said AT&T. But
you said SBC.
Sorry, formerly SBC, now AT&T. Thank you for the correction. They change so rapidly, it's hard to keep up, right? Last piece I want to point you to, I promise, is the work that Media Alliance has been doing since it was founded 31 years ago, which is protecting press freedom and independent journalists. We're really proud to have stood with some outstanding journalists over the last couple of years. We actually met Greg a couple of years back when we were fighting for press freedom during the beginning stage of the Iraq War. We had a sign-on letter that we were sending around to journalists all across the country, mainstream and independent journalists, asking them to oppose the idea and the notion of embedded journalism, and also to get major media outlets to commit to, and the governments to commit to, robust press freedom for all reporters. And Greg was actually one of the first people to respond and ask that not only that he be signed on, but also he opened up his Rolodex and sent this out to many, many journalists around the country and internationally. So we really want to thank him, not just for doing the hard-hitting investigative work, but really for supporting other journalists and being able to have access. And just this last year, we've seen a real increase in attacks on journalists, especially progressive, independent, investigative journalists, which can have a real chilling effect, not just on the media, but on our democracy. And so some cases you've probably heard about here in the Bay Area. The case of Josh Wolf, a young blogger, video journalist, who actually did over 200 days in jail, in a federal jail, was recently released, standing on the principle that he would not cave in to the Bush administration's attempt to use a grand jury and manipulate a grand jury and make the independent journalists the eyes and ears of the government and of the Bush administration. We also stood with Sarah Olson and Dara Jamal, who did some really important investigative work to get the word out about Lieutenant Aaron Wattada, who was one of the first commissioned officer to speak out and resist the Bush administration's call to war. These folks have been under direct attack by the Bush administration. We've been working with groups, like I mentioned earlier, some of them, the National Writers Union, the Society of Professional Journalists, the many others, to get not just a state shield law to protect journalists, which is already enacted in California. We're proud that we were a part of making that happen, but to get a federal shield law enacted. And this is my last point, is that what they were able to do this last year is to have go around these state shield laws, because there is no federal shield law in place to protect independent journalists. So now there's a groundswell of folks who are really interested in making sure that that protection is there, that we don't have a chilling effect on our democracy and journalism reporting. And we want to ask you if you can help us support the Democrats' majority, and mostly support the journalists to make sure that the shield law is enacted. So if you're open to supporting that, we'll ask you when you leave tonight to sign up for our email list, take some of the literature that's out there, and if you can, support with your dollars this work to make sure that we have much greater press freedom and media justice here, not just in the Bay Area, but across the U.S. So thanks very much for your support.
You know, we wanted this to be an uplifting and important and entertaining evening for you. Greg always is. But we have another guest who's going to be joining us. Greg Palast. Greg Palast is a little slice of home. He hails from San Francisco. He's very funny. He's very quick-witted. He's smart. He's a stand-up comic. He's probably best known as that Elvis Costello-looking guy on Whose Line Is It Anyway? Which, of course, is the hit improvised comedy show on ABC hosted by Drew Carey. Frankly, in my household, Greg Palast is best known. You see, I'm a mother of 3-year-old triplets. So he's best known to me and to my kids as the voice of Bob the Builder on PBS. And if you're not familiar, you really must watch this show. He's got a bio that runs about 30 pages, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because I want to try to keep us on schedule. But he's appeared in so many television programs, such marvelous voice work that he has done. But the fact is, he's brilliant, and he's brilliantly funny, and he's here with us tonight. Greg Palast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fellow progressives, concerned liberals, pamphleteers, annoying online bloggers, communists, radicals, vegans, friends of vegans, and the two poorly disguised FBI agents in the back of the room. Awesome to be here tonight. I don't know if this comes out of the stand because this microphone is clearly from the 40s. Okay, I'll work here at the lectern. It's wonderful to be invited here tonight. I'm sorry that I'm on PBS. Anyways, you don't get a cookbook if you watch me, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fantastic event. Greg Palast and I hardly know each other, and I'm hoping to ruin our friendship tonight. I'm joking, of course, but I realize it's a liberal crowd and you take everything real fucking seriously, so here we go. I am from San Francisco, raised in the Bay Area, so I'm completely unprepared to go anywhere else in the United States. Once I get past Livermore, all I can think of is Deliverance, quite frankly. Well, I go, how can you live in the Bay Area? Well, it's different than where you live. There's no trucks up on blocks, and it doesn't smell like shit, and there's no weird billboard that says get the U.S. out of the UN in our neighborhood. And we let gay people live amongst us. We don't hang them at the border of the town. That's what makes it different here. So, I travel all over the country and all over the world, and it's always exciting to come back to the Bay Area and perform at an event like this, because I know that no matter how many people are in this room, there's 5 times that many agendas going on in the room right now. That's the best part of coming to a liberal progressive rally. Everyone in the room has got 15 different things that they want to put forward that no one is fucking addressing. I know there's people in the room right now here going, I hope someone mentions soup. That's the only reason I came. I went to a peace march in San Francisco, and it was very exciting because I believe the peace marches in San Francisco, people have the best sense of humor. I was watching behind the medical marijuana flow or let me start at the beginning. Okay. First of all, like I said, there's a billion agendas at the peace march, right? It's not just about peace. It's everybody is there. Everybody that can conceivably be represented is there. It's gays with corgis, friends of gays with corgis, people who don't believe in the possession of corgis, It's a lot different than if you go to a fascist rally. Fascist rallies are fun. First of all, you can smoke. Yeah. Second of all, they really don't care. They only have like a couple of agendas, right? Gay marriage, that's a big deal for the right wing. They're obsessed with gay people. Obviously, I'm from San Francisco. We don't care what goes in what hole as long as there's going to be dinner and dancing afterward. In fact, San Francisco is best known for 2 things, steroids and gay marriage. And I am for both of them, quite frankly, simultaneously if possible. I'd like to see Barry Bonds cork Omar Vizquel's bat at home plate while they rub each other's rosin back with pine tar. I say lube it up and let love rule. That's how I work. The right wing are obsessed with gay marriage. Gay marriage, we can't let queers get married. Why, gay marriage is a sanctified institution between a man and a woman. It's a bond that cannot be broken. And you can't let gays mess that up. I said to my 5th wife, the one I bought online from Vietnam, I said to her, you can't let queers fuck that up. Only the cherubs swoop down and throw garlands of baby breath on our heads to congratulate us on the bond that we have made. That Britney Spears, Kobe Bryant, Robert Blake commitment to marriage that only heterosexuals can bring to the table. And They love their guns, man. Yeah. And Bush, you might have noticed, Bush swung by Virginia Tech on the day, right, to score some cheap political points, and he gave one of his usual stirring speeches, and God, and jelly beans, and God, and whatnot. And, you notice he never got down to Katrina, because he was playing the guitar in San Diego or whatever. Cheney was looking for a house, Connie was getting the shoes, Karl Rove was having his brains operated on, whatever it was. His ass, I'm sorry, I always get those confused. And, Bush finally got down there, what, like 5 days later? And then went, hey, down in New Orleans, wow, used to have some good times down here. Gee, that's sensitive. Isn't that like showing up at Auschwitz and going, boy, you used to get a lot of chicks around here before the Germans came. They love their guns, man, they really do. As long as they've got Charlton Heston, everything will be okay. I can't wait till he weighs in on Virginia Tech, because Charlton Heston brings that irrefutable, unassailable logic to the gun argument, you know? Well, of course, the children were killed by guns, but my God. If a flying wombat killed a small child, you wouldn't ban marsupials from taking to the air. What the fuck are you talking about? And Mexicans, they're obsessed with Mexicans flooding into this country and taking that menial job they've had their eye on. We can't let Mexicans come in and across the border. I've always wanted to be a busboy. That was my lifelong dream. Now I cannot apply at Denny's because they have taken the job that I have wished to have. We better build a fence across the border because a fence will baffle and perplex them. Despite their thousands of years of high culture and their chronologically perfect calendar, they have not yet conquered ladder or shovel technology. So you go to the Peace March. First of all, Peace Marchers don't march. They struggle in a stoned and disconnected way, okay? Fascists march. Peace Marchers amble, sort of. I'm going to go over here right now. I'm tired of marching. I'm going to get a low-fat soy chai latte. Oh no, I can't. The leaves were picked by Tibetan midgets who have been abused by being whipped with a cat of nine tails and been soaked in brine. I'm going to go over here and get a brown muffin. Oh no, I can't because the Nepalese ground squirrels have been forbidden by the repressive Chinese government is withholding the fiber from these noble rodents. I can't have that. I'm making a march. Someone's wearing leather. So here's my tip if you go to the Peace March, right? Make your sign the night before, okay? Just a little tip from Wadavu. Don't get up in the morning, smoke a bong hit, and think you're going to pull it together, because you're not. You're going to mess your sign up. You're going to write too big. No more shit. No more. No more what? That's oblique. It's impenetrable. What do you mean? No more anything. Stop it, you fascist. You know what I mean. Just stop it. No more. And try some spell check, peace people. Seriously. I don't know what we were doing in class, but it wasn't studying Strunk and White. So I'm marching behind the medical memorial. Well, first of all, there were 250,000 people at the Peace March, okay? Yeah. The Chronicle, which is, I think, a newspaper in San Francisco, it comes out every day and they charge money. The Chronicle said there were 100,000 people at the march. Fox News said 2 crazy people were running up and down the street. They are believed to be French. So I'm in the march. I'm marching behind the medical marijuana float for 2.5 goddamn hours. Just catching the vibe. And I see a sign that says, "Give Peach a chance." That was out of the question because I'd already ordered a lullaberry. About 2 blocks further, I saw another sign that says, "Pizza is the answer." And I thought, my God, they're right. Pizza is the answer. And I started to chant, what do we want? Pizza. When do we want it? Hopefully soon. I don't know about you guys, but I am full on munchable. I didn't have that much to eat this morning for breakfast. Just, you know, half a bowl of grape nuts and part of a bagel that my friend came over and left because he came over to help me paint the sign, but then we wrote too big because we got high, and I have like a huge low blood sugar headache over my left eye. Why don't we just skip Joe Baez and go get a burrito, right? We're going to eat, right? What do we want? Pizza. When do we want it? Hopefully soon. I don't know about you guys, but I am full on munchable. I didn't have that much to eat for breakfast this morning. Just half a bowl of grape nuts and part of a bagel. And my friend came over and left on. He came over to help me make the sign, but we got high and we wrote too big. And then I had like a huge low blood sugar and headache over my left eye. And why don't we just skip Joe Baez and go? First of all, it was too long. Okay. You're going to want to hit him with something punchy at the march, like, does this war make my ass look big, you know? I've been baffled and perplexed about Iraq since the very outset of this conflict. This is one notion that has confused me. How did our oil get underneath their sand? What a tantalizing geological conundrum. And clearly, and completely inexplicable. I mean, clearly it's our oil. We have it earmarked for freedom. They were wasting it on food, for goodness sakes. Know they nothing of liberty? What a coincidence, and how fortunate for North Korea. That North Korea possesses nothing America desires, and that there are no dead dinosaurs lodged underneath their permafrost. Because if America's SUVs run on spicy cabbage, we would be all over them like white on rice. We attack. Thank you. That was for one person, apparently. Everyone else, I don't get it. Korea possesses huge reserves of spicy cabbage. Exactly. If it was Halliburton and Kimchi Incorporated, we'd be in big fucking trouble right now. We attacked Iraq for a very specific reason. They have weapons of mass destruction. How cleverly they've hidden them. Almost as if they were never there at all. They have weapons of mass destruction. Apparently our weapons are weapons of growth and nurturing. Well, we're all right though, because the decider has going, yeah. That was quite a night, huh? When the president, the leader of the free world, the man who is in charge of the safety of 5 billion souls here on Earth, announced that he was the decider. Boy, did I sleep that night. Stars were in alignment, the planets were all there. I think even in darkest Africa. What is it, Mbigwe? I don't know, Mother. I'm just imbued with an enormous sense of warmth and well-being. That's because the decider has his firm hand on the helm. Sleep well, my darling, and wake to baskets of rainbows. The decider. That's not even a word a 4-year-old would use. I'm almost certain he meant the decider herb. You're the decider? What have you been doing? After 6 years, what have you been doing up till now? Ask again later. I'm gonna kill that Condi Rice. We're always letting Bush meet other world leaders. That is such a good idea on paper. Then he actually meets the world leaders. I'm waiting for one of them to go, could I talk to someone in charge? I didn't know you were going to send the Walmart assistant manager. Sure, you can talk to someone in charge. He's lying over here on a gurney with a defibrillator stuck up inside him. I got him on the clapper. I'll wake him up for you. Clap on, Mr. Vice President. Clap on. Dick Cheney is doing such a great job as president. And let me tell you something. What I love most about Dick Cheney is his fake window of health. Because he's, what, like 2 M&Ms away from complete coronary meltdown? He's like half a ho-ho away from having his aorta congeal into a hockey puck and just fire on his butt at any given moment. And yet, every 6 weeks or so, he's healthy enough to drag him out, prop him up in front of a camera. Then they shoot him back into the White House, where he's laying suspended in a cryogenic chamber, filled with the liquid from the endocrine glands of certain ferrets, so he's always bathed in a youthful, soothing enzyme bath. Juan Iguana runs in a wheel to keep his heart pump going at all times, like in the Flintstones. It's a living. Did you see Dick Cheney hiding in the Rose Garden a couple of weeks ago? What was that about? Bush is at the left turn and they pan the camera over and Cheney's standing up. And he's as spry as a woodland creature. I'm surprised the villagers aren't chasing him with torches. I love his vocabulary too. What did he say a couple weeks ago on TV? Hogwash. 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 It's nice to hear hogwash back. Shouldn't you wear a straw hat if you're going to say hogwash? It's also balderdash and poppycock, and I'm sure there's some bunkum in there as well. Sorry, that one made me laugh. I'm going to leave you this. It's almost 2 years until the next election. We already have 450 people running for president. I think this speaks to W's enormous popularity right now. He's just slightly less popular than testicular cancer. Testicular cancer is quite a little bit more popular right now because it's a great way to lose some weight before the summer comes. I know you're liberal. Testicular cancer is bad. I'm sure there's someone out there with a pamphlet for me later. He's insensitive, Greg, okay? I know a guy who knows a guy, for real. In Antioch, that was fucked up what you did. And we have a lot of candidates running. Greg and I were talking about Al Gore. Now, Al Gore's not running, and I know people want him to run. And I think he should be sponsored this time by like Dunkin' Donuts or Log Cabin Syrup, because he is fucking huge right now. I don't know what happened after the last election, but he's had time to sit and think and eat like a pot roast every day until he becomes his own globe and warms himself. He's generating heat right now if you ever stand near him. He's wearing one of those Orson Welles cassocks that look so... Thank you, Orson Welles. I'll be doing other references that no one gets. We have Barack Obama running for president, and it's very exciting. A couple of people are for it. I mentioned it in Illinois. I played in Illinois. Silence in the crowd. Even the crickets were quiet. I think, well, black guy, you can't have a black guy run for president, because a black guy, well, he's smart and accomplished, and his penis is big, and I have to take Viagra, and I wear a baseball cap and be my wife, and I go to NASCAR, and he ran a book. And if you let a black guy take over, they take drugs, and they're crazy, and he's going to go nuts, and all of a sudden he's going to change the name of the White House to the Black House, and he's going to have Nelly singing the inauguration, and it's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. It's a strong argument, I grant you. Barack Obama wrote a book. Our current president can't pronounce the word nuclear. If it's a choice between the guy who wrote and read a whole book, I'm going with him. Instead of the president who said he read 3 Shakespeares. I read 3 Shakespeares. No one's ever called reading a Shakespeare play a Shakespeare. Did you read the Einsteins, too? Yeah, I was reading Aristotle, the Poetics, I was skimming it. Thucydides' History of the Peloponnesian War. Hell of the Greeks. I read a lot of Greeks, too. We have Hillary running for president, and I couldn't be more excited. I know she's not lefty enough for you guys, but let's just look at it this way. The reasons why they give that Hillary can't win and shouldn't win and won't win are never used against men. They really never are. You never hear this argument about men. I can't vote for a man. Men are crazy. They're completely emotional. They don't want to discuss anything. They just want to fight. They shoot first and ask us some questions later. And their testicles, they're high when it's hot, and then they're low when it's whatever. Who knows what they're going for? They're out of their minds. I can't vote for that. They won't even ask for directions. They're born with a penis in the map of the world? Are you kidding me? I love all the reasons why Hillary can't win. People say things like, she's divisive. Really? And Bush united all of us. It took 6 years, but we're all on the same side now. She's got a bad personality. Really? I forgot about Dick Cheney's wow factor. This is my favorite one. Women aren't tough enough to be president. Push the button. Oh, really? Let me tell you this about women. Women have ugly guys' babies. You don't think that's tough enough? Women have to copulate with some foul dudes, man, with backward baseball caps and Raiders jerseys on. You know what I'm saying? I believe women are tough enough. Women can multitask. Yeah, I know. You'll be done in a minute. You finish up there. I'm going to push the button on it, Ron. I'm multitasking. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here tonight. Please give all your time and attention to Greg Palast. I appreciate it. Thank you for sitting here.
Very bad back there. Well, Greg Palast is coming up next. You know, earlier I told you about Greg Palast and that he really is a man of the people. You know, I know that's a term that's used, but with Greg it's true. But there's another side to that, and that is not just that Greg goes out to the people to get their stories, but it's his accessibility by people like me. I mean, he's a guy who doesn't seek access and acceptance among the powerful and the elite. He investigates them. Ask Tony Blair. Ask Karl Rove. It's the people like you and me who have access to Greg Palast, and I know this firsthand. As a one-time radio talk show host in Santa Rosa, I sought out Greg as a guest. Now, let's think about Santa Rosa, okay? I had a broadcast signal that largely stayed within Sonoma County, wine country. It kind of trickled into Marin and a little bit of Napa, but this was not a major metropolitan market. And most potential guests of Greg Palast's stature, they ask all kinds of questions. They inquire about your broadcast signal. They want to know your target audience. They want to know your Arbitron ratings. They even want a list of advertisers before they will decide whether or not you're worthy of their presence on the air. But Greg, and I would say a host of other really good guys, they wanted the truth to be heard by any venue possible. And there are some of, I should mention Scott Ritter was one, Seymour Hersh, Ray McGovern, Elizabeth de la Vega, Alexander Coburn, Harvey Wasserman. But Greg Palast, he's the only one, I think, who has never, ever turned down an interview request by me, not one time. He's never asked for questions in advance. He never asked about market size or ratings or, for heaven's sake, advertisers. He never stipulated no callers, which many who you think would want to engage callers did do. He just said yes, because he is accessible to the people. I'm going to bring him out here because I know you want to hear from Greg. Catherine Harris, this is my favorite quote about Greg Palast. Catherine Harris calls Greg Palast twisted and maniacal. Is that a feather in your cap? Noam Chomsky says Greg Palast upsets all the right people. In Great Britain, Greg Palast is called the most important investigative reporter of our time for the work that he has done for BBC Television and The Guardian. He's the author of 2 New York Times bestsellers, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, and his latest, Armed Madhouse from New Orleans to Baghdad, Sordid Secrets and Strange Tales of a White House Gone Wild. Now, Greg is going to be signing his book after the talk, but finally, the Baltimore Chronicle says this about Greg Palast: no one has uncovered more about the Bush dynasty than Greg Palast and lived to write about it. Greg Palast.
Hey Bruce, what's so funny? I really want to, we're here for the Media Alliance tonight. Big up, because over there, they're meeting CBS, NBC, they're having a meeting of the Mediocre Alliance. And I'd like a big up for my friends in the Bay Area, the Quake, Air America, Burn New York, Peter Phillips of Project Censor, in the Bay Area. Global Exchange, Code Pink, the devious and wonderful artist Winston Smith. Alternative Tentacles is here tonight. They put out the CD Live from the Armed Madhouse. We have some of those here tonight. And a special, and as of course Greg proves, thank you so much for coming. He asked if he could come out and help out tonight. Thank you. By the way, if you can't hear me in the back, we say so, guys, or whatever. If you hear too much of me, don't say so. And a special tonight, I don't know if he's here. Dennis, are you here? No. Tonight, I want to dedicate this program to an astonishing voice, an astonishing radio journalist. There ain't none like it in the United States of America. Let's keep that voice alive and broadcasting, whether they like it or not, from the Bay Area. Dennis Bernstein, Flashpoint, who couldn't be here tonight because his mother was recently passed away. And our sympathies go out to his family, and our spirit is with you, Dennis. Now, let me have some. You know, I was reading the Wall Street Journal, and last week, a couple weeks ago, they had a headline that said, "Reasons for U.S. prosecutor firings unclear." Let's see if we can blow away some of the fog. It's helpful in blowing away the fog that the House Judiciary Committee has subpoenaed the emails of one Karl Rove and friends. And of the thousands of emails, not having thousands missing, but there is one that begins, "That guy is a British reporter." I kid you not. Dated February 7th from the office of Karl Rove. And he talks about that British reporter. Okay, let's get the facts clear, Karl. Greg Palast is an American, and you are un-Americans. Very fascinating. Very fascinating. That will give us some hint. And he was saying, his little crew was saying, a whole series of emails. No national media, meaning U.S. national media, has picked up his investigations. Yeah. Well, we'll pick them up. But why? What's up here? It begins, what doesn't Karl Rove want picked up? Well, let's begin with this. Okay? What is this? You're right. These are CNN's balls.